hair, so I thought it made sense to do a new introduction video. If you're new here, if you're not, welcome to the Money Matters feature brought to you by Money Support Group. Some of these interviews are packed with lots and lots of financial information, while others are quite hard-hitting. Either way, I think they're all worth your time. However, I might be a bit biased saying that because, well, I'm fronting them, but still check them out and see what you think. If you like what you're seeing or what you're hearing, then please do like, comment, and subscribe. By hitting that subscribe bell, you are making sure that you are on the ball for all of our content that comes out on this channel. And if you want to find out a bit more information about Money Support Group, the link to the website is down below in the description. So click that if you want to find out some more information. Hello and welcome to the Money Matters feature. We have called it a podcast in the past, but of course it's not out on all podcasting platforms. It might be actually, depending on when you listen to this. But at the present, while this is being recorded, it is actually just more of a feature because of course there are definition people out there who will be upset that it's being called a podcast when in actual fact it's not out on podcasting platforms just at this moment, but it might be. Anyway, I'm absolutely delighted really to be joined by another financial expert. This man, Chris Worden. How are you doing, Chris?
I'm very good, thanks, Johnny. Thanks for inviting me on.
No, not a problem. I was just actually complimenting Chris's bookcase in the background before we came on air, although Chris admitted himself it's more of a stylistic feature as opposed to something that he uses regularly.
I've read them, I just don't recall them. You know, it's I've slept since I read a lot of them, and they just tend to go, you know, my recall's not getting as good as I'm older.
What's your favorite one? What's your favorite book on the list, on the shelf?
I've always liked personal development books.
Fantastic.
You know, I don't know if I could pick a good. I'm reading one at the moment I quite like. Robin Sharma, The 5 a.m. Club. It's not on my bookcase. It's on my bedside table, and I'm really enjoying that at the moment.
Well, fantastic.
I like it, really. Better than watching Coronation Street with my missus.
You know what's quite funny? I actually don't mind Coronation Street. It's probably because I grew up with it. It's in my area, so I could talk to you about that another time, but not right now. I've just introduced you sort of briefly and not too much detail there. That's perfect for you to come in and tell everyone just exactly who you are and what you're all about. Okay,
thank you. My name's Chris Worden. I run a company called First Business Rescue. And I feel very on the spot actually now. We help directors with financial difficulties. You know, if a business is struggling paying the bills, they've got HMRC arrears, they might have worries about, you know, how they're going to pay the bounce back loan, how they're going to continue to survive. We help them. Yeah, we help them and talk to them and help them understand their options.
That's a very well put answer. You did well considering you were put on the spot. Just I like that for authenticity, you see, so I can tell, you know, in fact, they're the best answers. But yeah, no, really well put there. And what you do, how long have you been doing it and how did you get into doing this yourself? I heard you got a very interesting story about this.
Yeah, it was unique. Listen, I didn't go to university to study insolvency. I am not an insolvency practitioner. I ended up here because of a really difficult and traumatic thing that happened to me. About 6 or 7 years ago, I had a good little business in the Northwest. We did renewable energy. We installed these things called biomass boilers, solar. We did some of these insulation schemes for the government. Things were going great. And it was before Christmas, a number of things happened. Number one, the government pulled the funding, so we was unable to install the stuff we'd actually bought. We'd bought the materials for the funding, then got cut. Then there was a reduction in something called not the feed-in tariff, the RHI tariff. And overnight, we lost £300,000 worth of orders because we couldn't guarantee to our customers that we would get this stuff installed by the time the cutoff was. And we had to give £50,000 worth of deposits back. That was a bad day. 2 weeks later, what made it worse, we realised we'd actually been ripped off for £200,000 off some dodgy middleman. We'd done all this insulation work and realised we wasn't going to get paid for it. So that was before Christmas. And around the back end of January, my friend is a boxer. He was a professional boxer. I was in the gym, just going to see how he was. And his coach has said to me, he says, "What's up with you?" I mean, I'm an upbeat person, but you could see all over my face there was something wrong. I hadn't slept properly since this news. You know, I had all these thoughts were going around. What's going to happen to me? What's going to happen to my house? And he said to me, he said, "I know someone who works in insolvency." Such a random sequence of events. He says, "Just go and have a chat with him." Now, I've gone to see this guy, been in the industry 25 years. I mean, I'd say this to his face, you know, he was like just a lazy public schoolboy. He would not do a job. His phone would ring. And if there wasn't like a huge fee involved, you know, what most people were earning a year, he just was not interested. Anyway, he got me through this insolvency procedure. And bearing in mind, before I'd seen him, I'd seen 5 or 6 other insolvency practitioners. I'd spent night after night, you know, Googling what my problem was and how I'm going to get through it. And none of it made sense. Everybody said different things. They didn't speak a language that I understood. Anyway, I got through this liquidation. It was tough, you know, I had to let people go. I'd lost my business that I'd worked really hard for. And I said to him, I said, "Listen, you know, I thought I was a streetwise person, but I was so vulnerable in this scenario." And I said, "Why don't why don't we do something where we speak to small business owners?" And after quite a little bit of deliberation, First Business Rescue, and we sort of toured along for a couple of years. And the 3 people who were involved in it, the guy we're talking to you about, and the boxing coach who introduced me, we work in the business now. And we've helped a lot of people. You know, we have helped a lot of people, and we will continue. We're very passionate about, if you're going through company closure, you've got financial distress, it's a difficult enough situation. And what people deserve is honest, straightforward advice with no flannel, no ulterior motive, explained in a language they understand. And if there is a problem, listen, we've got to get that problem out on the table. You can't sweep it under the carpet. But if you know where you are, not worse than it is, exactly where you are, then you can start to go, right, well, what's the solution? What options have I got available? Does that answer the question?
Answers the question perfectly. Wonderful little narrative there as well. You say it's such a small world, isn't it? And I suppose it's who you know in the world, and various different backgrounds there coming together, creating this new opportunity for you. And it's really good in what you're doing. And the best question, I think, to follow that up is, you've said you've helped many people out. Is there any one person or group or business in particular that you've helped out and you feel tops them all in terms of achievements on your behalf?
That's a good question. There is one lady who always sticks out. I've never been asked this question, but I do remember, you know, I think about her. She sadly got, I think it's terminal cancer. And she come to me, we got an inquiry during lockdown last year. And it was like an online jewelry business. And they did magazines, posted magazines. It wasn't actually all online at that point. They posted magazines out. And this lady had been visited by a really big firm. And she were a bit confused, and she was sort of being railroaded into a procedure that wasn't right for her. It was destined to fail, really. And I spoke to her, and we spoke to her so many times. We sent her some wine at Christmas, but she had a huge problem. Business had just collapsed in COVID. It just gone off a cliff, and there was all these personal guarantees that were signed, and the walls were closing in on there. And what the lady did is something called a pre-pack liquidation. This business was insolvent. There was no hope of recovery. And she agreed to buy the assets of this business, you know, this loose stock, this jewelry, and she started again. And I don't know why, but she always sticks in my mind because she had so much going on. You know, this was just another thing on top of a grave diagnosis. So, yeah, but we get, people don't know where to turn. That's the problem, you know, and I know I've got the experience. I didn't want to tell anyone. I'm a proud guy. You know, I didn't want to go, listen, my business is, you know, it's over. And I remember just being there, led in bed at night, just about to go to sleep. And then my brain would turn on. And it'd be like, you know, we just go. The problem is when you're inside your own head, things get worse. I've never figured a problem out in my own head. I have to talk to people about them. And if I get other people's views, then I can start to work on a solution. And I think a lot of people are the same, Jonny, that they don't know where to turn. And whether it's they owe £1 million or 1,500 quid to the revenue, that causes people to lose sleep. So, and there's been lots of people like that lady, you know, she just jumps out at me as someone I always remember.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like she had an absolutely awful time of it, as you say. Not just the business, but actually, you know, her own personal health as well was taking a really bad turn. And yeah, it sounds like a really, really, yeah, a story that would inevitably stand out in the back of your mind amid all of the people and businesses that you've helped. Taking a more general approach then and coming away from specific stories then as such, I'll sort of do with this as a two-pronged question. So as I told you before, I was actually working in China during just before the pandemic. So of course I'm well aware that thing existed, as is probably the entire globe and population. But before the pandemic, what would you say the main reasons for corporate insolvency were, and how has that differed or become worse after the pandemic? Well, I say after, we are still in the pandemic.
Yeah, really good question. So let's listen, we used to dealing with people in distress. You know, there could be a number of reasons why a business owner has gone, I need some help. You know, before, it's quite common in business days, someone will ring you, you'll give them some advice, they'll bury the head under the sand. You know, it used to happen very regularly. And then what would happen is either a bailiff would turn up on their door, or they get a 7-day notice, or they've been issued a winding up petition. And then the client's back on the phone and going, oh my God, what do we do about this now? There could have been a million reasons why that happened before COVID. You know, someone might not have paid them. You know, sometimes someone will seek insolvency advice through nothing they've really done wrong. You know, a developer may have gone bust owing a main contractor, and the main contractor that just passes that on to to Joe the builder in Burnley, who can no longer pay his revenue debts and his suppliers. It could be overspending. You know, some people are negligent. There are some people who shouldn't run businesses out there. You know, that I see that as well. It's like, what have you done here? It could be, you know, there could be so many different factors of what had happened. But what changed in March, April last year is the type of person we spoke to. You know, we've dealt with people who've had good businesses for 20 years, who have paid the tax on time, and they've not been able to trade. We got loads of inquiries from that, events people, wedding venues. There was one woman who built this business up over 20 years, a lovely woman, and she'd always paid her tax on time. She was funding the business herself, and she'd taken deposits for the venue of brides and grooms, but she'd used the deposits, and because she couldn't guarantee, this place did like 800, 900 people in a wedding. This woman was getting death threats off people who booked weddings. So it really shocked me, and it still does now, that people who we speak to, if it wasn't for COVID, they'd have never have needed our services. There's some industries that have been absolutely decimated.
Hospitality being the main one, isn't it? Anyone working in the hospitality sector really did suffer as a result of the pandemic, for obvious reasons, because you can't really replicate that experience or get the money needed when you're all inside. It's something that really couldn't go remote. And yeah, that's certainly one sector that took a bit of a bashing as a result of the pandemic. But I also hear now, we hear now at the present time of recording, which is end of September, obviously the pandemic's very, very, very brutal and has brutalized a lot of businesses, as you've just touched upon. Business owners that would never have been in this position, that found themselves in a position of hardship as a result of something no one could have anticipated happening. But also apparent is the effect of Brexit, as some people have suggested that we're already seeing some shortcomings now of the deal that was agreed at the start of the year. Have you heard of or had anybody come to you who's struggling in a financial position as a result of the current Brexit deal that's been negotiated?
I think it's hit construction really hard. We've supported a number of construction companies where they just can't get the staff, or the labor that is now charging more money because there's less labor. We also had quite a few inquiries from people who operated serviced accommodation, like perhaps on a rent-to-rent model, where they would lease buildings, typically in London, and they would then rent the buildings out to migrant workers. Well, they're not there anymore, and so I think certain hauliers are finding it tough at the moment, because the cost of getting out of the country has gone through the roof. It's I don't think people talk about that enough, do they? It's like almost been forgotten, Jonny, Brexit, and
not by me, I can assure you.
Yeah, not by my partner as well.
No.
It was his main topic of conversation until COVID. Yeah. So yeah, I think we're still seeing the effects of that deal playing out.
It's been described as a bit of a perfect storm, though, hasn't it, Chris? Because when the deal came through, we were in the middle of a pandemic, and now people are thinking, well, is it the pandemic's fault? Is it Brexit's fault? Is it something else? Is it incompetence from higher levels? It's really difficult, isn't it, to work out sometimes what it is. But inevitably, with everything going on at once and all these different, as has been quoted, a perfect storm coming together, the only consensus you can really come out with is it's a sorry time to be a business owner for many people.
It is hard, and I think you'll drive yourself mad, working out where it's come from. It's like, what can you do today? What's in front of you? What are your options? And that's a bitter pill to swallow for a lot of people. Right? So,
Yeah, no, very, very good point. Sobering point in many ways. To take it back a bit then, one thing that came in at the start of the pandemic, actually, in fairness, at the start of the pandemic to the government, one big lifeline that was given out was the furlough scheme. Of course, that allowed people and businesses to survive in a time where many more would have collapsed under the pressures of what came, I suppose, with pandemic life, the lockdowns and the inability to function as normal. So the furlough scheme that was introduced was a very important thing from the government to ensure that there wasn't a complete collapse of businesses across the board. But there was also a scheme brought in, which I'm sure, I said we'd touched on before, called the Bounce Back Loan Scheme. Now, I know what that is, and many people know that is. Many people don't know what that is. Not everyone's a business owner. So, Chris, you're no better person to explain what a bounce back loan is than yourself. And I'll add the question after you've explained what it is.
Okay, well, yeah. The bounce back loan scheme was brought out by the government to help business owners of the UK survive the pandemic with an injection of cash. I think 1.5 million loans were taken out, and it was a perfect loan in the sense that the borrower didn't need to sign a personal guarantee, and the lender was guaranteed the money by the British Business Bank. So very little risk on anyone's part. And it was extremely favourable terms, 2.5% with no personal guarantee. So you were entitled to, based on a couple of things, apply for a loan of 25% of your turnover in 2019, capped at 50 grand. If you was incorporated after January 2019, you could estimate your turnover. And yeah, it was a very successful scheme, and it was needed. It got cash into the economy, into businesses. So people didn't, not a lot of small businesses have much cash. That's my experience of speaking to people. So it was not without its flaws, and it has been open to abuse, sadly. But I think it was a good move by the government.
No, it certainly was. I mean, there was absolutely a necessary measure to remove red tape where possible in order to aid businesses, as you say, smaller businesses that ordinarily wouldn't have a lot of money, that were even more oppressed than usual. So from that point of view, yeah, absolutely fantastic, and good figures there that you noted the amount of businesses that were really benefited by this. However, obviously, there is the counter question, and of course, it on the whole was a very, very good thing. However, there was a little bit of exploitation, wasn't from that side. I guess because there wasn't so much red tape, it meant that people who maybe weren't as eligible as they should have been got into this position, took charge of that loan, and now it's possible that some of those are going to be reaping some quite heavy consequences.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to play out, but this was taxpayer money. And those that have abused this scheme will be brought to task. You just the government and nor should they. If somebody has abused this scheme, this taxpayer money that we are all going to pay for generations. This is a wartime economy that we've been in. Then yeah, we are starting to see one or two prosecutions that have come up. A couple of it was on the Insolvency Service website where companies have been wound up because there's been foul play found. But I think it's just a touch of the iceberg. I think what we're going to see over the next months and years is for those that thought that they could break the law, that they will be brought to task.
Yeah, I think people were just sort of looking at it going, free money. Well, as you rightly say, it's taxpayers' money, and inevitably that's all of our money. So certainly anyone that did think that they could be flagrantly disregarding the regulations that are in place or mislead in order to get a big whack of the money that we all put into from our taxes. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think something needs to be done about that. And like you say, something is being done about that. And for you personally then, and just generally going forward, what would your personal plans be for the short-term future? And we'll say long-term future. I say long-term future hesitantly because we can't really plan much further ahead than 2 weeks at this moment in time, can we? So maybe we'll stick to short-term. What are your plans to the end of the year at the moment?
So I have a new baby due sometime in January.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. That'll be my fourth little girl.
Ah, very good.
So my focus and the next, the end of this year really, is just to put some robust systems in place in our business really. So when this little bundle of joy comes out, I can take a little bit of time off. But I think it's just, it surprises me the bad advice that's out there, Jonny, that there's not a day goes by where I'll speak to somebody and bounce back loans always come up. And okay, you can't pay back your bounce back loan. Okay, well, you never had to declare that you would bounce back, right? But have you took it in the right manner? Have you spent it on the right things? Okay, fine. Well, you need to seek insolvency advice. And I've heard it today, but my accountants told me that we'll put in a DSO1 form and strike the company off. I'm like, yeah, he's only charged me 1,500 quid. I'm like, I fall off my chair. You can't do that. It's illegal. And that's just one example of really poor advice that's coming from professionals. So our commitment is to try and continue to put out content that's easy to understand, with no fluff. And we'll continue to do that. We've got am I allowed to plug something?
You don't have to plug anything you want.
Okay. So on Tuesday, the 12th of October at 12 dinner time.
I hope this goes out before then now.
Yeah. Dinner time or lunchtime if you're posh. It's dinner time in Preston. We're going to be doing a how to close your company webinar. Close the company with a bounce back loan. What you can do, what you can't do, what's going to get you in trouble. So we're going to keep pushing out that content. We're bringing in a new member of staff just to help and assist. And I think we're just going to continue in the same vein. We don't, like you say, we don't know what's going to happen. But if we continue to give people good, solid, free, confidential advice, then, hopefully we'll still have a business and it'll grow and, everybody will win.
Yeah, and that's absolutely what I want. I love the idea, like you say, of speaking in layman's terms, because I think so many people just think that the jargon of financial jargon will just sort of go into the minds of everyone. Quite frankly, it doesn't. There's so many people out there that haven't a clue. So I think it's really good that you're looking at focusing on simple English, layman's terms, and just getting that message across without being too fanciful. And just to touch on the webinar that you mentioned, will that also be on YouTube or catch-up services?
Because I do them on Zoom, I don't record them.
Record them, Chris. Record them. Yeah.
Yeah. People have asked that in the past, so I haven't got any plans to, but maybe. It's, but it'll hopefully be action packed, easy to understand, and you'll know you've got options. Listen, you've got options that are available, and once you know where you're at and what your options are, you should feel a little bit better about this situation. I think it's the not knowing, because going back when you're in your head, I can catastrophize, and I think most people can do. What's
good word, that catastrophize?
Within like half an hour, my thinking can make it terrible. That's just my experience with problems. But I think that's the same with everyone else. So again, talk to somebody who can help, talk to someone who's been in that position before.
I think that's a nice way to end, really, Chris. Financial hardship and personal hardship are often sort of intertwined. So it's always good, whatever the situation, to discuss it with others, whether that be friends or family members. But of course, as well, if it's a financial thing, the financial experts that are available to you, like Chris for insolvency and corporate insolvency. So there we go. Thanks for talking to me, Chris.
Jonny, thanks for inviting me, and please pass my thanks on to Nicole also.
I will, of course I will. I'm sure she'll listen to the video as well, so I might not have to. It'll already be there for her.
Thank you.
Anyway, yeah, nice one. Absolute pleasure, and good luck with everything, including the arrival of your new little one.
Thanks, Jonny. Top man. Thank you very much. God bless.
Yep. Well, that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to smash the like button, give us a nice comment, and most importantly, hit the subscribe bell. You hit the subscribe bell, it means you can keep up to date with all of the latest features that come on this channel, whether that be Money Matters or something else associated with Money Support Group. Hit the subscribe bell. Until next time, thanks for listening, stay safe, and enjoy the rest of your week.